All right, good morning, everybody. This is Mike with Bishop's Bounty Outdoors. Today, we're going to do a video on something I recently got into and enjoy quite a bit. It's going to be some winter-style outdoor camping. I didn't always enjoy camping, just from my time that I was in the military. Uncle Sam has a great way of making camping absolutely miserable. So once I had kids and they were really interested in being in the outdoors more and wanted to do some camping with me, I was like, well, I should learn how to do it and make it enjoyable. So one of the things that I think we all like to do when we go camping is stay as comfortable as possible. And as you can see right now, you could probably see my breath. It's about 8 degrees out here in south central Pennsylvania. The past couple days, it's been -degree temperatures, very cold. We recently got like 6 to 7 inches of snow. So I'm going to show you my setup and what I do to stay warm, the tents that I use. I'm only going to do one tent in this video, but in future videos, I'll show you some of the other ones that I have. And mainly just how to stay comfortable, how to enjoy yourself when you're camping. The setup that I have today that I'm going to show you, I more so had for going out west. I went on an elk hunt back-to-back years, a few years back, and I more so got the tent setup that I have here today for going in the backcountry, setting up a camp, miles back and away from other hunters. That way I could go ahead, stay warm, stay closer to an area that's better for hunting, and just overall enjoy the whole out west experience. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I do to set it up. As you're looking right here, you can see we have all this snow, and this is not something you want to go ahead and just plop a tent right on. It's gonna be extremely cold, especially if you're laying on the ground. You don't want to be right on top of that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out an area, go ahead and prep it for setting up the tent. The tent that I have, it's a one Tigress tent. I got it off of Amazon of all places, and it really is a nice tent. It's not super roomy, but I will tell you that once we have the heat source set up in it, every time me and the kids are out in it, they're always saying, open a door, crack the vent holes on top of the roof. It's very, very warm. So I'll go ahead, start clearing out this snow, and we'll show you the setup process. Okay, you can see the area that we have cleared out here. This is just to prep for setting the tent up. Whenever I'm doing any type of camping, my family and I, we go hunting up north a lot, and the area that we're in, it gets super cold like it is here right now. We'll typically go ahead and in this area just lay down like straw or anything along those lines once you've cleared out any type of snow. I'm not going to be using straw today. As much as I would like to film a video out in the woods, I'm at home today. I've had a pretty tight schedule this week, so you're getting a video from my backyard, just me setting this up and showing you how I do it. So just to give you an idea of how big it is, that's roughly the size of the tent itself. So I'm just clearing out an area for that, and all of this excess snow that I have here around the ring, you don't want to get rid of that, and I'll show you later in the video why. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I use to lay on the ground just for keeping our feet dry and warm. The tent that I have with this one Tigress, it's like a teepee tent or kind of like a yurt. It's like a mixture in between both of them. With what I have and what I use, it does not have a floor in the bottom of the tent. So you got to go ahead and get something to lay on the ground. I've used tarps before. They're fine. I ended up getting a floor covering. It's like a rubber carpet floor covering. Once again, got that off of Amazon as well, and just had those. They're fairly cheap, and I tell you what, they work great just for keeping your feet dry. The ground's always going to be cold this time of year, regardless of whatever you use, but I'll show you once again, once I start breaking all that stuff out, what I use, and it works pretty good. Okay, so this is the tent carpet that I end up using. This is the Dry Mate tent carpet. It's got a waterproof backing. It says it keeps you warm and dry. I mean, it keeps you dry. I wouldn't say it keeps you warm. But overall, I'm very pleased with these. So I have 2 of these. This is a newer one I just haven't unraveled yet. And this is what I typically lay down for our whole entire base layer on the ground here. And it does a really good job of keeping your feet dry. So you're not in a tent constantly having to take your boots off. Well, you can take your boots off with this carpet laying down, but you don't have to keep them on inside of the tent. You don't have to worry about making a muddy mess when you're walking around. You know, for those that like to use straw, I'd highly recommend getting some of this. Lay your straw layer down, put this on top of it. It's just going to be a better insulator, and it's going to help you out, especially on really cold days and nights like we've been having here lately. So I'll start setting this up and show you what I have. So as you can see, all I did was go ahead and lay this out, and I staked it down each one of the points that they have here. So there is a pole that I laid underneath that goes up in the middle that'll shoot the whole entire tent up, and we'll go ahead and give it the structure that we need so we can go ahead and get inside. This is really an easy tent to set up, a little time consuming. I really don't have many bad things to say about the One Tigress camping tents. The only thing I don't like is these tent stakes. They definitely went pretty cheap on these when it's really cold out, and I just did this from doing I did a little test on it for over the 2 weeks it was up. Let it out in the snow, rain, high winds, everything else. Held up great. But these tent stakes, when they get really cold, they'll snap off and break. And I had one break on me just pulling it out of the ground, and I really was not using much force at all. So the only recommendation I would have for them as a company would just be to get better tent stakes. I'm going to go ahead and finish propping this up, but I just wanted to stop and show you that this is where we go ahead and just put the tent stakes down, kick them in there, make sure it's taut, and from there you just unzip this, go inside, set up the pole, and we'll go ahead and we'll finish setting this up. Now that we have all of these tied down, staked in, you can see that it really forms up the tent. The pole's a little crooked inside, so I'll have to move that. But overall, it is a very decent sized tent. And like I said before, once you get this thing warmed up with a wood stove inside, and I'm about ready to show you that setup, you are going to be very warm inside of this. And you can see there's where your chimney goes outside for your wood stove, and it actually has a fire retardant seal around the side there. So very, very nice setup. I've always enjoyed this tent. Let's go ahead and get the wood stove set up and get it warmed up. Okay, so we are inside the tent now. I have the floor mat set up, and we have our tent pole. Like I said, you can see it goes all the way up, and it's actually reinforced at the top so it doesn't poke through or damage, and it's rounded on each end. So it's actually a very sturdy pole. Between this and when you have the guidelines outside tap down, they do a really good job. Now, like I said earlier in the video, that snow that I had piled up out on the side, You can see this mat's just a little small for in here. I should have just doubled up on the mats that I had. That way you don't have to worry about putting your feet in the snow. But if you double up on these mats right here, then you're gonna have a completely dry bottom surface. And you can also see on these mats, it's got all of this rubber that's underneath of it. So it is waterproof. None of this stuff's gonna come up underneath. And it's better than using a cheap tarp. One of the things that I really enjoy that I bought for this tent is the wood stove that I have set up for inside of this. It's the fire hiking wood stove, and it literally all fits inside of this little kit. And it comes with a different chimney pipe. I bought this one here as an aftermarket one because I was terrible with the fold-up one that it comes out like a straight piece of sheet metal that you have to roll, and I did a terrible job with it. Needed something that was a little bit easier for me to set up, so I ended up buying this one right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the wood stove, and we're gonna get a fire going. Okay, so the stove breaks down literally into nothing. I mean, this all folds up inside of the pack that I just showed you over there. And you can see it's really small. So setup for this is really easy, which is another reason why I like this stove. You're just taking these sidewalls and you insert them. And there's little grooves on each side that you'll see. And what I also thought was a cool feature is it has see-through windows on the front and on the side here. So it's a good thing for lighting if you're really like out in the back country somewhere and don't want to carry extra lanterns or something with you. It's not going to put off a lot of light, but it'll give you some. It's better than nothing. And from here, you have these little levers here on the side. You just flip these up over the grooves. Legs pop out. You have a wood stove set up. One of the things that I'm doing over here, and let me move this wood stove so you can see it. I have like big blocks of wood that I just set here, and I set the wood stove on top of that. Reason being, like I was saying earlier in the video, I used to use tarps. Made a rookie mistake, never played with these before, set this down just as it is on top of a tarp, and underneath it here, it gets so hot, it melted the tarp completely underneath, and it just completely ruined the tarp, which is part of the reason why I switched to these. But I also got smart, learned from my mistakes, and I just put them on wood blocks. There's probably better, other better setups for it, but this is just my cheap, quick setup for not burning my mat. And I had wood blocks laying around, so I said, hey, why not? All right, so all I do, I set this up. I typically face it away from the door. It's a little bit easier for making a fire and everything else. So I set it right about there. All right, so I get it set up, and this is where I go ahead and I install the chimney. Another thing I didn't mention, and I'll show you here quickly, this mat right here, it is actually a fire retardant mat. Speaking of the tarp that was burnt, you can see part of it still on the mat here. This will go ahead, and if there's any embers, any sparks that come out the front here and they land on here, it won't burn it. I've even taken hot coals out of this, placed it on this fire retardant mat. It didn't even melt this. It does a really good job. So just something to go ahead and keep in mind for when you're doing a wood stove inside of a tent. This material on the tent, I'm sure that if it got any flame on it, it's going to burn a hole through it. That's what you don't want to do, because then you're out money and you're dealing with holes inside of your tent. So we'll go ahead, get this set up. And this has several different sections inside of the actual chimney itself. You can take this apart. Like, this is 3 different sections right here. And another thing that I liked too that they sent with this is a chimney cap. Some other models that I've seen, they don't send these. If it rains, you're going to get water down inside of your wood stove. It's just a nice little feature that I liked, so we'll go ahead and I have it on this way. Put this on, and we just feed it through the chimney hole here. And that is set up and ready to build a fire in. So we'll go ahead and start splitting some wood and we'll get a fire going. If any of you are like me and hate using an axe to make kindling, I have a recommendation for you. This right here, I had purchased about 2 years ago. I don't even remember the name of it. I don't know. No, there's nothing stamped on the bottom. I had purchased it. I can't remember where I got it from, but this thing is great for making kindling for wood fireplaces inside of your home. We have a wood fireplace inside of our home. That's what we primarily heat with. But for the wood stove I just showed the setup for, it's better to make small kindling for it. You could put decent sized logs in there, but even the small kindling really holds up a long time for it. So all you do with this is take a piece of wood, and I'm cheating here. I have some split wood for my fireplace there, and get your hammer. It makes it really easy. Get it down to the smallest point that you want. I cut my pieces pretty small, and it just works really good. I think I may have paid $60 for it, and it's already paid for itself, and just not having to deal with an axe, potentially cutting yourself, having any of those issues. So if you're going to a campground, anything like that, where they allow you to go ahead and harvest any of the timber that's out there and you want to make small kindling, I highly recommend one of these. All right, we're going to build this fire here. Go ahead. You can see that's a pretty decent sized log for a small stove, and it fits in there just fine. Nothing special here in starting this fire today. In some future videos where I actually get to go out in the woods and camp, I'll show you guys some of the different methods that I use to start fires. Today we're just going to use the good old-fashioned newspaper and a match. And I am cheating here a little bit today. I'm using some of these, I think it's called fat wood. It's like pre-treated wood that catches really easy because some of this wood's pretty wet. Not saying that you can't get a fire started off of that, but sometimes it's a little frustrating, and that's never fun to deal with. All right. That's some old garbage matches. Watch, I'm going to strike this like 12 different times before I get this lit. Wow. And this is another lesson that you don't use old garbage matches when you actually go camping. Yeah, I think these are so old, they're just not even able to stay lit. I'll try getting a couple of them here at a time. All right, we're gonna go ahead and crack this. Let it do its thing. You got a pretty good dampener up here too. Let me make sure the flue's open. It's a little smoky at first until the heat really gets going. Smoke in the eyes. Always. All right. So you can see we got a fire going there now. And this will not take long to get this heated up. It goes pretty quick. And we'll put a little more wood on there. Not too much smoke in here. Let that draft get going first. Everything's just so cold, it takes a little bit to warm up, but once it gets warmed up, it shouldn't have too many smoke issues. And this fat wood stuff, it just burns with a black smoke. It's really not the greatest wood to burn, but hey, we're dealing with what we got here today. All right, I'd say that's pretty stable. We'll go out and take a look at it and see how it looks coming out of the chimney. All right, and this is an outside view. As you can see, that thing is just going to town. And that chimney cap, like I said, I really like that cover because it'll prevent anything from coming in that and putting a little bit of water in your fire if it's raining or snowing. It's just another good little attachment to have there. But overall, does really good. And I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but you see these flaps here for outside the tent. From some of the previous video that you're watching here, you can see that there's some daylight coming through here. What you're supposed to do is take snow, pile it up on this. That way there's no draft. When it's windy out, that wind will blow underneath of this really easily, and it'll make you pretty cold. So just something you should do when you're setting up this style of tent. All right, so the stove's been going for about 3 minutes now. You can see it's really putting the smoke out now. Once that stove gets up in there, I mean, I've had it up to 80 degrees inside of this tent when it's out in the teens when I first tested it out, and it just does a really good job of keeping you warm. I can't say enough about this tent. I actually really like it. Overall, I mean, on a 1 to 10 scale, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. Like I said, the only thing I don't really like is the stakes, and I wish it had a little bit more space or they had another option for a bigger tent. But overall, it's a really, really nice winter camping tent. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this thing nice and warm, and I'm actually gonna do a little demo for you guys on the wood stove and show you that you can actually cook on this thing. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of cooking inside of the tent, and I'll show you guys that you can use the wood stove to cook meals. You can boil water on it. I'm not gonna demonstrate that today. Anything that you do on a normal cook stove, you can pretty much do with this. To include baking, you can actually use the underside of the oven to bake stuff. But while I was coming up here, I heard something moving around in the tent, so let's see what it is. It's Sophia. Hey, say hi.
Hi.
What are you doing in here?
I want the sun.
You want it on?
But it won't come.
Okay, we'll play with it here later. Do you want a snack?
Yeah.
What do I have here?
Nice.
Nummies. Okay. We'll get you the nummies and we're gonna start cooking. So right now, it's probably about mid-60s inside this tent. We can't see our breath. It's nice and toasty in here. I'm sure you can see Sophia over there is quite content. Are you happy? Are you warm? Yeah? Okay, good. So, as you can see, once you get it nice and warm in here, there's no problems. What?
Can I have a s'more?
We'll see about s'mores. Daddy didn't bring anything for s'mores. So, what we're just gonna do here today, I already got a pan heating up on the stove here. I just wanna show everyone this. When this stove is up to temperature, you don't wanna touch anything on this. It's very hot. So what I always do is I just use a piece of wood, kind of just open it up, and you can see we're still going pretty good, nice and strong there, and it's putting off a lot of heat. Whew. All right. Make sure my camera's on here. Okay. So we're just gonna go ahead and throw some Italian sausages on this pan and get cooking. Nothing fancy here. You guys, I'm sure, can hear that sizzle. It's hot and ready to go. We're just gonna go ahead and let those cook up. And when you're cooking with this stove, one of the things I also found out the first couple times I tried this, I leave the front vent wide open, and back here on the chimney I go ahead and I dampen that back a little bit. It definitely focuses the fire towards the middle of the stove itself. That way it gets a little more concentrated heat, because anybody that's cooked on these before knows that you can take a while to do this sometimes. As you can see, it's got plenty of heat and it's cooking these up just fine. See how we're coming along here? They're looking pretty well done to me. It took about, I'd say, close to 25 minutes. Like I said, when you're cooking on a wood stove like this, things will take a little bit longer to heat up, but these definitely look like they're ready to go. So we'll go ahead and put these on a plate. Oh yeah. Ooh, hot. Yeah, definitely done. Look at the steam rising right off of them. All right, and for the next part here, we're just gonna do some Uncle Ben's original rice in the pan. Can't beat that. It's easy, and I love Spanish rice, so we're gonna get that going. Okay, so all we do for this, and it's easy. I mean, you follow the instructions on the back of the rice package. It doesn't get any easier than that. Just go ahead, put a little bit of water in here. And you take the rice package, and I leave all that stuff from the sausage right in there, and it adds to the flavor. Cover it, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes. All right, it is smelling good in here. Got the rice going. Look at the water dancing on the stove, it's hot. And we have Sophia watching. What are you watching, Sophia?
I'm picking.
You're picking one? Are you having fun? Yeah, I'm really convinced with that answer. All right, and this is already finished. That was done in about 4 minutes. Go ahead and plate this up. Should have brought a spoon out to scrape the rest out, but there you go. Easy, easy camping dinner. All right, everybody, we're gonna finish up this video. Just want to thank you guys for watching, and for those of you who've subscribed to the channel so far, really appreciate it. I don't know if I really explained this in the other videos before, but we're just showing people a different way of living, showing you that you guys can have fun outside, making sure that people are staying active, getting out after it, enjoying anything that's out in nature, and just our style of doing things. We by no means think we're the standard of, hey, you need to do it this way or else you're wrong. We're always open to other ideas. I'm still learning myself. This is just a way of doing it. As you can see, I'm currently outside without my other jacket because it got so warm in the tent from the wood stove, and Sophia won't lay in her sleeping bag now because it's so warm in there. It's like 26 degrees outside right now, but in the future, we're going to take this tent and another one that I have, and we're actually going to go out in the woods, stay overnight with it, so you're not just going to get me in my backyard showing you a little review on a tent. And you guys can go ahead and try out the same thing. But once again, just to give you an idea, it's one Tigress Camping. I'm fairly certain I purchased this one on Amazon. Really nice tent. I really like it. I'll definitely be using it in the future. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.